To assess your qualifications through the Australasian Veterinary Boards Council Incorporated, AVBCC, you need to follow a specific process if you are an overseas trained veterinarian seeking to practice in Australia. The AVBCC is responsible for assessing the qualifications of overseas veterinarians to ensure they meet the standards required for registration to practice in Australia. Here's a step-by-step guide on how to assess your documents through the AVBCC. First, understand the purpose of the AVBCC assessment. The AVBCC conducts a veterinary science accreditation process to evaluate whether overseas veterinary qualifications meet the standards set by the Veterinary Board of Australia, VBA, for registration to practice in Australia. The assessment also allows you to apply for a skilled migration visa if you are seeking to live and work in Australia as a veterinarian. Next, determine eligibility for the AVBCC assessment. Before applying for the AVBCC assessment, ensure that you meet the following criteria. Recognized veterinary qualifications. Your overseas veterinary qualification should be recognized as equivalent to an Australian Bachelor of Veterinary Science or Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, DVM. The AVBCC will assess your qualifications against Australian standards. Professional experience. You must have relevant professional experience as a veterinarian, including clinical practice, surgery, and other relevant veterinary duties. English language proficiency. If English is not your first language, you may need to provide evidence of your English language proficiency through a recognized English test, such as IELTS, PTE Academic, or TOEFL. Now, gather required documents. Before applying, make sure you have the following documents ready for submission. Veterinary degree certificates. Copies of your veterinary qualifications, such as a Bachelor of Veterinary Science, DVM, or equivalent. Academic transcripts. Official records showing the courses you completed during your veterinary program. Curriculum vitae, CV. A detailed CV listing your professional experience as a veterinarian, including specific roles and responsibilities. Professional references. Reference letters from your employers detailing your experience and professional duties as a veterinarian. English language proficiency. If required, submit proof of your English language proficiency, IELTS, PTE, or TOEFL results. Proof of identity, a copy of your passport or other government-issued ID. Certified translations. If any of your documents are not in English, provide certified English translations of these documents. After gathering your documents, apply for the AVBCC assessment. To apply for the assessment, follow these steps. Visit the AVBCC website. Go to the official AVBCC website at https://www.avbcc.org.au. Create an account, register on the AVBCC online portal to start your application process. Complete the application form. Fill out the application form with your personal details, academic qualifications, and professional experience. Submit required documents. Upload all the necessary documents, such as your degree certificates, academic transcripts, CV, reference letters, and language proficiency results. Pay the application fee. The AVBCC charges a fee for conducting the qualifications assessment. Complete the payment through the online portal to submit your application. After submitting your application, wait for the outcome of the assessment. The AVBCC will assess your qualifications and experience. This process typically takes several weeks, but the time can vary depending on the complexity of the application and the number of assessments they are processing. Possible outcomes of the assessment include positive assessment. Your qualifications and professional experience meet the Australian standards, enabling you to apply for registration with the Veterinary Board of Australia and to practice as a veterinarian in Australia. Negative assessment. Your qualifications do not meet Australian standards, and you may be required to pursue further education or training to meet the requirements. Partial assessment. Some of your qualifications may be recognized, but you may need to complete additional steps, such as additional studies or supervised practice, to meet the full standards. If your assessment outcome is negative or partial, you may need to complete additional education or training. Depending on the results, you might need to complete further studies or coursework to meet Australian requirements. For example, you may need to enroll in a bridging program or postgraduate courses in veterinary science. In some cases, you may be required to complete a period of supervised practice in Australia to gain further experience and demonstrate your competency in veterinary practice. If necessary, you might be required to pass competency exams to prove your knowledge and skills meet Australian standards. Once you receive a positive assessment from the AVBCC, you can apply for registration with the Veterinary Board of Australia. This is a requirement for practicing as a veterinarian in Australia. The VBA will review your assessment results, and if everything is in order, they will grant you registration. If you are seeking to migrate to Australia, a positive assessment from the AVBCC can be used as part of your application for a skilled migration visa, such as the Skilled Independent Visa Subclass 189 or the Skilled Nominated Visa Subclass 190. The AVBCC assessment confirms that your qualifications meet the criteria for working as a veterinarian in Australia. Once your qualifications have been assessed and you have completed the registration process, you can apply for membership with the AVBCC, which provides professional recognition and access to various resources and opportunities in the Australian veterinary community. If you have any questions or need help with the process, you can contact the AVBCC for support through their website. The AVBCC assessment process is an essential step for overseas trained veterinarians wishing to practice in Australia. By submitting your qualifications, professional experience, and supporting documents, the AVBCC will assess whether your credentials align with Australian standards. A positive assessment allows you to apply for veterinary registration and skilled migration visas, while a negative or partial assessment may require further education, supervised practice, or exams to meet the required standards.